All right, I'm here with my buddy Ramen. Ramen is a Pomsky, and he has got a lot of personality. In this video, we're gonna go over something called the engage-disengage game, or some tricks that you can use if you have a dog that's reactive to other dogs. So one of the problems that Ramen has is he gets bananas when his mom takes him to the dog park. And there's some dogs that he gets in their face that the dogs don't like it. And there's some dog breeds that he's specifically reactive to. So before we get to the actual exercise, we're gonna talk about the precedents, the things that set it up. So we just left his house and we walked, we're maybe 100, maybe 250 feet away from his house. As soon as we walked out the door, he started getting crazy. He started barking, he's running around in circles. He's just like, we're going to the park, we're going for a walk, man, whatever it is. Excitement is fine, but if we have an important life decision, we don't want to be overexcited when we do it. And we're probably not going to perform our best if we're overstimulated, overexcited. So the very first thing that Ramen's guardian needs to do is work on his desensitization. Desensitization is intentionally exposing the dog to a stimulus, in this case, maybe going to the dog park, a dog, or whatever it is, and a low enough level of intensity so that he does not react. And that is crucial. He can't react. If he reacts, we gave him too much. So I like to introduce dogs to things in stages or slices. So if meeting a dog and playing with the dog is too much, maybe I just arrange a scenario where, like here, we have a park on the other side, there's a fence, the other dogs can't reach us, and I can create the distance. So let's say there's another dog playing at that little play set right there. And the other dog, Ramen's cool with that dog at that distance. But if the dog walks up here, Ramen loses his stuff. So if I see the dog walking here, I'm gonna walk Ramen over here in this little area that we are on our side of the fence. I'm gonna manage the situation for him. Now, and that's important for the engage-disengage game we're gonna do in a second. But for him, because as soon as his mom picked up the leash in the house, he started getting excited. And then as soon as she put the leash on, he got even more excited. Then we started putting the leash on Cap and the other dog and got even more excited. We walked out, he's really excited. He's all aroused. So what I'd like you to do is get in the process of leashing him up calmly. And so the process for this is basically we're gonna walk over where the leash is, pick up the leash or the harness. Normally he's not wearing a harness. If he's calm, then we continue coming towards him. The instant he shows a little bit of excitement, a key word is a little bit, we stop. So if we're gonna go for a walk and we put the leash on, he gets excited, we stop, we get frustrated because we have to wait. Well, we don't have to go for a walk right then. So if you got to go for a walk, maybe you start practicing 15 minutes before your walk. So you walk over, some dogs you walk over where the leash is and reach for the leash and start going nuts. At that point you stop and go sit down. And you wait for him to calm back down and then try it again. So essentially we're going to watch his body language, and as soon as he starts showing excitement, we're going to stop the process. Or maybe make it a little bit easier the next time. So eventually we get to the point where you can walk over and pick up the leash, he doesn't get excited. You walk over to him, he gets excited, then you drop the leash, or put the leash back and sit back down, wait for him to calm down. Eventually you can pick up the leash, walk over to him, lean it towards him before he gets excited. Or maybe you clip on his harness before he gets excited. So we're gonna do this in small steps or stages, like I mentioned, until he is calm and relaxed throughout the entire process. If we take him to the dog park and he is going bananas, there is no way that he can listen in the dog park. Now there's a couple dogs walking by, which is why he's a little bit aroused right now. So I use a little bit of a test. When I want to go to the dog park or something like that with my dog, I ask my dog to sit. As soon as we get out of the car, I ask for a sit. If he can't sit there, I'm not going anywhere near. I'm not going to go anywhere further because he's already demonstrating that this is too much for me. Now, right now, since we have some dogs over here, I'm going to go ahead and have you shift over here, keep filming. I'm going to be using a clicker for this. Now, he's picking stuff up. They have scent glands on their feet. There's a way of kind of releasing. So what I want to do, Ramen. So now I've got his attention. You would think if I'm giving a treat after barking, I'm rewarding the barking. Ramen, go ahead and walk backwards. Watch my bag. So this is what I was talking about earlier in the video. Ramen, sit, sit. Yes. Sit. Sit. So what am I doing here? When Ramen looks at the other dogs, I'm clicking and then I'm giving him a treat. See how he's snapping his head around? So when he looks at the other dog, I'm marking. I'm clicking to let him know I like it when you look at the other dog. But because he knows the click means he's going to get a treat, that causes him to turn away. Now, if he's too close, he's not going to turn away. So if he's doing this, then I would just move him a little bit further away. So I'm going to manage the distance for him. Now the other dogs have walked away, he can't see them. His energy is, he's not as aroused. So I kind of skipped ahead of this a little bit faster than I wanted to because of the other dogs. I want to take advantage of the opportunity. We'll come back to talking about this in a sec. But for desensitization, if we take him to the dog park, here, buddy. I'm going to have you come over here so you're a little closer. There you go, buddy. So I'm using this to block him. He's not looking at the dog park or the park behind me, so he doesn't see anything to bark at. So basically, if I, desensitize him. So for him, going to the dog park gets him too worked up. Getting into the car, he gets worked up. But it probably starts when you pick up the leash. So if you get to the point, hey buddy, okay, we'll go this way now. So if we pick up the leash and get him desensitized, so I can pick up the leash, I can attach the leash, we can get in the car, and he's not excited, then we're ready to start driving to the dog park. And as soon as he starts getting excited, he recognizes the things that are appearing outside the car, we stop. We turn around and go back. So eventually we're gonna help him practice going to the dog park without going inside, till we can get to the dog park, park our car, tell him to sit, and in the car he sits. We get out of the car, we tell him to sit, he sits, we mark and reward all of these. And then we start walking towards the entrance to the dog park. Every about 5 steps I ask him to sit. If he won't sit, then that's as far as we're going that day. We turn around, we go back to the car. It's not punishment. Right now, going to the dog park means it's gonna culminate in excitement and a crescendo. So if we practice without that crescendo, without that culmination, then now it's just like, oh, yawn. Is this another time that we're getting in the car and going for a ride? I like going for rides, but I'm not going bat stuff crazy thinking that I'm going to the dog park. So we want to achieve that first. Until we can achieve that, we're not going to have any success at the dog park. Almost guaranteed not to have success at the dog park. Now, what do we have here? We have a nice little park that's really conveniently located near the Guardian. Now, a bicycle just went by. We can use this exercise that I was trying to show you there for bicycles, skateboards, dogs, or whatever. Now, we have a little fenced-in area here, and there's a grass section, and then there's a park on the other side. There's a path, and when those dogs were really close, that's when Ramen started getting excited and barking. When we're doing this exercise, we don't want any barking whatsoever. And you were a pretty big husky. And so we achieve that by increasing the distance. Now, that was a whole bunch of dogs, and they were barking. If there's one dog that's maybe the age of your other dog and walking very calmly down the path, we might be able to be all the way up against that fence. We see somebody coming with 3 or 4 dogs, and we can hear them, and we can see them way down there. We're gonna back away from the fence, so by the time that he sees them appear, we have more distance. Remember, when he barks at dogs or things, he's trying to make them go away, i.e. he's trying to increase the distance between him and them. If I move away, I've increased the distance for him. He doesn't need to bark. It's your job to figure out what distance he needs and from the different types of dogs. There may be a specific type of breed of dog or color of dog or energy of dog or size of dog that he's gonna be reactive to. So one of the things I'd recommend you do is keep a list. Every time he's reactive, what kind of dog was it? It was a Frenchie. What color was he? Where was he at? And after a while, we can start kind of maybe practicing being around Frenchies, but not at the dog park. Or maybe Frenchies of a different color. So again, we're gonna do these in slices. We have to set our dogs up for success. As a dog behavior specialist, one of the biggest, most common mistakes I see is people set their dog up to fail. I take my dog to the dog park I can't get him to sit in my living room. He's bat stuff crazy in the car. By the time we get him in there, he's hysterical, and then he goes after another dog. I should not be surprised in that, because I haven't taught him the behavior I want him to have. So this is a great place to do it, because the other dogs cannot get to you no matter what. Even if you screw up, you drop the leash, he can't get to them either. So what we want to do is we want to find that distance, and now it would be helpful if you have any friends or neighbors that have dogs. When it comes to dog reactivity, I cheat. Instead of just waiting for some random dog to come by, and I don't know what they're going to do, the person going to let their dog run up, is their dog going to bark? I know my friends' dogs. I might enlist them. Hey, can you come over and help me practice a little bit? They come over, you're talking to them on your earbuds, so you can say, okay, he's starting to bark, go walk behind a tree. So now if I can't control it, I can ask them, and they can move away and increase the distance. He can't see them. I wait for him to return to a calm, balanced state of mind. Okay, I'm gonna have you just pop out for 1 second and then go back behind the tree. So I have a treat, he looks at them, I say yes or I click, He looks away, I give him the treat, and then he looks back and they're gone. Oh, so all you gotta do is look away from a dog and they disappear? It's not exactly how they think about it, but after enough practice, that's kind of one of the things they look at. And we call this the engage-disengage game. So let's say that I'm the dog and the camera is the other dog, and my handler is right here. So I hear the other dog, I look, my handler clicks, that causes me to turn here to come to the treat. So what I'm doing is my handler is rewarding me for looking at the other dog, and that's creating a positive emotional response. As I look at the dog, I don't have to play with them, they don't have to come near me, they don't have to sniff me, and I turn around away from them, I get a treat. So just looking at a dog gets me treats. Wow. And I'm looking at a distance where I feel comfortable. And after we get comfortable with that, then maybe the next time we come and I'm one step closer. And now I use a couple of tricks for this. Can my dog sit down? I use the sit as an indicator. If a dog doesn't feel comfortable, it's not going to want to sit. I use the sit as, well, how many steps a dog has to go into before they can start running is how I equate how comfortable they are. So if a dog is standing, I go straight into a run. If I'm sitting, that's 1 move. If I'm laying down, 2 moves. Laying down, side saddle, 3 moves, and so on. So if I ask a dog to sit around another dog and it won't sit, I'm interpreting that as his way of saying, I feel uncomfortable at this distance, not I'm being disobedient. So I don't ask for it a second time. I move 5 feet away from the dog and I ask for a sit again. If he won't sit, I move 5 feet again away. When I find the distance, let's say I'm 25 feet and he'll sit, that's my starting distance. Now it's gonna ebb and flow, again, depending on the other dogs. If the other dog's walking slowly and at a heel and not reacting, you probably got a lot closer. If the dog is a young puppy bouncing and barking, or a pack of dogs, you might need to move further away. Your job is to move further or closer away before your dog reacts. What your dog is essentially doing is practicing being around other dogs without barking. At first at this distance, then gradually this one, and eventually you're walking with dogs and your dog is out of a habit of barking at other dogs. Now, like I said, it's called the engage-disengage. At first, if you're the camera, I look at the dog, I hear the click, I turn away and get the treat. After a while, what will happen is that as a dog, I look at you and I'm going to turn away intentionally, anticipating that click. Then that becomes the disengage part. So at first, I look at the camera, click, I look away, get a treat. After a while, I look at the camera, look away. I'm clicking for looking at the human. Yes, and that was a very good sit. So now what we're saying is if you look at the dog and then look away at the dog, I will reward you for that. He's practicing seeing dogs, being exposed to dogs, and having a positive thing happen when he comes to dogs and nothing negative. Now this takes time and practice. I recommend the Guardian here because this park probably has a lot of people walking their dogs down. I'm gonna stand up because I can't do this with my legs forever. Probably between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Now, I always talk about the roller coaster. I'm not a big fan of roller coasters. If I'm on a roller coaster, I'm sitting on my butt, I'm not doing much, but I probably burn 500 calories in that 60 seconds or however long it takes the roller coaster to do its thing. This is very intense. If you're doing it right, it should not look like your dog is reactive, if you're doing it right. So a lot of people push and they do it too long. I would do this for like 3 minutes, then walk around away from the area, let him relax for 2 to 4 minutes, come back and practice another 2 or 3 minutes, walk away for another 5 minutes, come back and practice. There we go. So we got the dogs again. Same dogs that we just saw before. Difference is more distance. Starting off with more distance. Now, normally I would celebrate that, but when I'm doing an exercise, I only reward for the exercise when I'm in that practice session. So now he's looking at these dogs. I think it's a dog walker because he's got about 5 or 6 dogs. There we go, he just disengaged, but that's usually not something we come to for a while. So now he's looking at me because I have really good treats. We could go a step or 2 closer. Now he's just staring at me. If he barks at me, I'm just going to ignore. I'm just waiting, I'm watching, I'm seeing those dogs. See how easy it is to get him to disengage at this point? Now I've got really good treats, and I'm watching him like a hawk. Don't be talking, if you're doing this a friend, you got to do it at first, the instant he looks at the other dog. Let's see if we can get a little bit more. Well, they're gone. But after a while, at first it's like he looks and it's clicking instantly. Then after a while, he looks for a half second before I click. Then a full second before I click. We want to elongate because we want him looking at the other dogs. Because it's LA, you're going to see dogs everywhere you go. But again, then we can get a little bit closer. So if those people are indicative of most people probably come in here and do a lap. So they're probably gonna come by 5 or 6 times. So you can judge that dog. That group of dogs, I need to be at this distance. That group of dogs, I need to be at that distance. That group of dogs, I can be all the way up the fence. And again, if you have friends that live in the neighborhood that are walking their dogs and you can talk to the earbuds, that's a beautiful way to do it. Because you can, if it becomes too much, you have them hide, you walk him away. And if he gets too worked up, you can say, just say search, search. Do a couple of these, getting him sniffing the ground. He's not paying attention to that, he's looking for the delicious treats on the ground. Now, when we're doing this, we want to do this in short intervals. Like I said, maybe 15 minutes total, but like 3 minutes each time, maybe 3 or 4 different times over a 15-minute deal. And after this will drain a tremendous amount of energy. So don't do this and take him to the dog park immediately afterwards. That probably is going to cause him to be overly tired and reactive at the dog park. Remember the 2 pillars. Pillar 1 is helping the dog not practice the unwanted behavior. Pillar 2 is doing something like this to repair the behavior. All right, so the other dogs are kind of coming around the park, and so I want to have the guardian practice this a little bit. So this is I'm going to wrap up this video, and then we're going to practice a little bit off camera. Come here, buddy. Before we wrap it up, we got to show everybody how handsome you are. Yes. Well, this is my buddy Ramen, and these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that's reactive to other dogs.